Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron. It is the player ratings. Everton 1, Luton Town 2 at Goodison Park yesterday. Usually we do the player ratings video directly after the game, but I figured yesterday whilst we were doing the instant match reaction that the emotions and the frustration and the anger and just everything, that I felt after that game was sort of cramming my head full of, various different feelings. And I didn't want to come on and do two videos where I'm basically just emotionally rambling. So I thought we'd do one in the instant match reaction and then we'd come back and do the player ratings, a day or so later. It's now like 9 o'clock the next day when I can have collected my thoughts and I can provide a little bit more of a balanced sort of review and an argument, I suppose, about the game yesterday. I still feel the way I feel. I still think that the manager, his time is up at the football club now. Ultimately, XG and how many goals we should have scored is completely irrelevant when the final score reads, once again, Everton have lost another home game. 7 out of the last 8, 3 of the last 4 being against sides that you would expect us to turn up and be able to beat. And that record is just absolutely horrendous, and there's no way Sean Dyche can hide from that. He can come out all he likes and talk to us about how many goals we should have had. But, if I went into a bank and said, I want to buy this £500 million house and I want to buy this £300,000 supercar. And they said, yeah, but you've got £100 in your bank. And I said, yeah, but my expected balance is 700 billion quid. They'd go, do me a favour, mate, get out and don't bother coming back. So the reality of the situation is the reality, and that is that the results haven't been good enough. And ultimately for me, I don't think Sean Dyche survives until the end of the season as the Everton manager. So therefore, why not make the decision now rather than waiting another 3 weeks, a month, 2 months, and then making the decision when there's another round of fixtures, winnable fixtures that Everton will not win. I put a poll on Twitter earlier today to basically just ask the question, regardless of whether you want Sean Dyche sacked or you don't want him sacked, do you believe he will be the Everton manager come the end of this season? And something like 65% out of like 500 votes replied with no. So, whether people like the manager or don't like the manager, the reality is that the consensus at the moment generally seems to be that people don't believe he'll be in charge come the end of the season. So make the decision now. And for everybody saying we can't sack him, we can't afford to, of course we can. Somebody will find the money somewhere. It's a professional football club. And for those saying there's nobody better out there, as I've said before, I just can't buy into that. I really, really can't buy into that. I think it's nonsense. I really do think it's nonsense. There is hundreds of better managers than Sean Dyche. Most of them will be available and most of them would come to Everton for the right money. It's just about being able to go out and find one. But anyway, I digress. That's probably a conversation for a different video, probably the review tomorrow. Let's get into the player ratings and let's run through these, because I understand a lot of people will want to get rid of this game out their mind and not think about it and not have to, go through it again, because I'm sure we've all tried to block it out today. Jordan Pickford then. I'm going to give Jordan a 5 today. I don't think he was at fault for either of the goals. I've not seen either of the goals back, but again, I can't really remember it being particularly his fault. I think it was more defensive errors rather than goalkeeping errors. I do think his distribution yesterday was terrible, absolutely terrible. I think there was a number of times when we had Beto and Dominic Calvert-Lewin on the pitch, and the pair of them were stood on the right-hand side of the pitch, and Jordan Pickford was absolutely adamant that he wanted to kick the ball to the left-hand side of the pitch where nobody was standing. So yeah, again, I'm not really sure on that one. I don't think his distribution was anywhere near as good as what it has been. But I don't think he was particularly at fault for either of the goals. I don't sit here and blame him. So yeah, he's getting a 5. Ashley Young at left back. Do you know what? I don't know if I've ever done this before. Maybe I have, but I can't recall. But I'm going to give him a 0.5. I actually think he would have got a better rating if he'd have come on as a substitute for the last 10 seconds of the game and not done anything. He was horrendous yesterday. And I don't just say this, for effect. I don't just say this to try and get views or comments or whatever. It could generally be one of the worst performances I've ever seen from an Everton player at Goodison Park. He was horrendous. I would have taken him off the pitch after 5 minutes if it was up to me. And okay, you might go, oh, well, you can't do that. That's not fair. I would have definitely taken him off at half-time. He was an absolute disgrace yesterday. He was shocking every single attack. that went down that right-hand side. He was beaten for every single time. He had to stand up and defend and step forward. He stepped right out of position and they got in behind him. He couldn't win a tackle. His pace wasn't... He played like a 38-year-old, and I don't mean this to disrespect Ashley Young, because he's 38, still playing in the Premier League, and I'm sure he's still a very good footballer. But he played like what you would expect from a 38-year-old who you just picked out the crowd and said, "Do you want a game?" He was terrible. His positioning was terrible. His defensive positioning was awful. He looked like he'd never played football. But he looked like a 38-year-old accountant who'd never kicked the ball before, and we'd just gone, "Do you want a game?" He was shocking. He was absolutely shocking. And as I said, if I'd have done this video yesterday, I'd have probably given him a 0, but I'll give him a 0.5 for turning up. James Tarkowski, I'm going to give him a 3. I don't think it was his greatest game in an Everton shirt. Defensively, for both goals, I think we were absolutely terrible. The 2 goals that we conceded was so poor. 2 set pieces once again. But, Sean Dyche was going to come in and we were going to be solid from set pieces and we weren't going to concede. Yeah, all right. 2 set pieces again. 2 really poor goals to concede. And from a defensive point of view, Tarkowski's the captain. He's the leader. He's the experienced one in there. He should be the one that is, ultimately... clearing those crosses and making sure that the danger isn't there. A little bit like he did against Brentford and Villa. I don't understand how they can perform like that against Brentford and Villa, defensively so strong and so capable. And then when it comes to Luton, and again, full respect to Luton, by the way, they turned up yesterday. They had a game plan. It worked. They beat us, and their fans have just had an unbelievable day. But I don't care if this upsets anybody. Luton are shite. Now, Everton are also shite. That is fair. But Luton are a really poor football team. Luton won't beat many teams away from home this season. They won't beat many teams at home either. And we couldn't deal with that. And that is a little bit embarrassing for James Tarkowski, in my personal opinion. Brandwaite next to him, I'm going to give him a 3.5. I don't think he was much better. Maybe slightly better. Maybe slightly more comfortable. Maybe had a little bit more to do, but I don't think he was anywhere near what he should be. I don't think he was anywhere near what he has been in recent weeks either. And ultimately, he formed part of a defence that was really poor for the entirety of the game. So yeah, he's getting a 3.5. Mykolenko, I'll give him a 4. I thought he was probably the best out of the defence. I don't think he was particularly great. But I do think out of the the back line, he was probably the least culpable for the goals. I don't think the best is a word I would like to use, because I don't think any of them were particularly good, but he was probably least culpable for the goals that we conceded. So yeah, again, he had 2 really good games against Arsenal and Brentford. Obviously come off at half-time against Villa. But yeah, yesterday wasn't his greatest day, but he wasn't by any means the worst player on the pitch. James Garner then at right midfield. Why? Because he played right midfield against Brentford and done all right. So let's play him right midfield again. Even though he played in a midfield 2 against Villa and was fantastic. No, we won't play a central midfielder. Do you know what Luton did yesterday, by the way? Luton played... Oh, hang on. This phenomenon in football. Luton played 2 central midfielders in central midfield. And he played a right midfielder on the right and a left midfielder on the left. And you know what? They won the game. Oh, phenomenal. Let's play players in their right positions. No, not Dyche. Dyche wants to play James Garner right midfield for no reason whatsoever. He had to play in right midfield against Brentford because we had no other option. We had other options yesterday and he still played in there. 3. Don't think he was very good whatsoever. It's not his position. On the ball, he's all right. He can spray a pass. But again, from the James Garner we watched against Brentford and the James Garner we watched against Villa, this performance was absolutely nowhere near that. It was back to the type of performance we saw early on in the season from James Garner, where I was questioning what he brings to the team. And that's not his fault, because he's not a right midfielder. That's the manager's fault. But yeah, not a very good performance. Onana next to him, he's getting a 2. Again, I don't want to scapegoat him, because I genuinely believe this is the manager's fault. I think had the manager had played James Garner and Amadou Onana in a midfield 2, I don't think we'd be having this conversation, and I don't think Everton would have lost that game of football yesterday, I'll be honest. But he didn't. He played the James Garner out wide and Onana in a position that he shouldn't be. If he's going to play in a 3, he needs to be in the 6. He wasn't in the 6, but he was against Brentford, but he wasn't yesterday. Yeah, again, as a player, again, without giving the players the blame, because the players do deserve blame as well. It's not just all on the manager. I don't think Onana was very good yesterday. He didn't console in midfield. He didn't command. he had a good 20 minutes in the first half when we were on top and we were creating chances and we were getting forward, but other than that, not very good whatsoever. Not really in the game, not really consoling the game. The second half, well, every single one of them was embarrassing, really, but he wasn't anywhere near as involved as he should be. Garner Gay, yeah, I'm going to give him a 2.5. Again, stop shooting. Please just stop shooting. There's no need for you to shoot. Nobody wants you to shoot. You're not good enough to shoot. Stop shooting. Yeah, come off at half time. Some people will argue that he was, when he come off, we were much worse for that. And I agree with that, but I don't think that was necessarily because Garner come off and because Garner was unbelievable in that first half. I just think it was because the shape was just all over the place and, whatever the tactic was in the second half was an absolute embarrassment. I don't think there was really a need for Garner yesterday. I don't. We were playing Luton, the worst team in the league, at Goodison Park. Do we really need 3 central midfielders, one of them to sit in front of the defence? I don't think we did. He was all right, but again, come off at half time and in the first half missed a chance and had a couple of hairy moments with the ball at his feet. So yeah, Dwight McNeil, give him a 4. I think he ran round. I think he worked hard. I think he battled. I think he put himself about, but absolutely nothing to it. No end product, no creativity. Looked tired. Looked like the victim of a system that doesn't really have any sort of plan or any sort of pardon me. I'm drinking a fruit treat now because somebody commented on the fact that I was drinking a beer yesterday, which I thought was quite funny because if I want to drink a beer, I'll drink a beer. Do you know what I mean? If I want to come on here with a big, massive pint of strawberry daiquiri, I'll come on here with a big, massive pint of strawberry daiquiri. But anyway, I've got an orange juice just to make you happy, mate. If you're watching, you're probably not watching. Yeah, thought he ran round, worked hard, put himself about. Tried, but it just wasn't there for him. Decore, similarly, I'll give him a 4. Thought he ran round, worked hard, put himself about, but didn't come off for him. Nowhere near as effective as he was against Brentford. Nowhere near as good and didn't have anywhere near as the involvement as well. A couple of chances he probably should have done a little bit better with as well, but ultimately, not good enough. And then Calvert-Lewin up front, I'll give him a 5. Just for the goal. The goal gives him a massive boost. Other than that, wasn't massively in the game. Didn't really do much. Didn't really offer much. But he got a goal, and that's 3 in 3. So, every cloud, Every cloud. Onto the bench then, Nathan Patterson. Come on for 15 minutes at the end of the game. Should have been on after 5 minutes, to be perfectly honest with you. Yeah, again, I give him a 6, and that's not based on the other players. That's just based on the fact he come on for 10 minutes and he didn't do anything wrong. So, yeah. Dan Juma, I'll give him a 5. Thought he'd come on, ran round, put himself about, but with no real end product or no real quality or no real, nothing to show for it. But I'm not going to sit here and say he's getting a 1 because ultimately he come on in a game where the manager clearly had no tactic, clearly had no instruction for him or no way of playing. And if you're coming on as a substitute and attacker and your team's losing and your manager basically just says, which I can only assume he did say this because there's no way he had a plan or a tactic. There was no way we had a plan in that second half. So if the manager just says, go on and try, it's very difficult in them circumstances for an attacker. Jack Harrison, come on at half time, obviously. Do you know what? I'm actually going to give him a 5. I've seen a lot of tweets about Jack Harrison and people saying he was excellent, he was amazing, he took players on, he was a bright spark. I don't think he was that great, I'll be honest. And again, maybe that's just because we were losing and I'm getting a bit emotional about it. I thought he tried hard and he was trying to take players on and he was trying to make something happen and there was that effort there, which is more than what you can say from a lot of the other players. But seen a load of people saying, his quality was there, he was amazing, he was creating loads of chances. I just don't see it. I think he looked unfit. I think he looked, not ready as in match sharpness, match fit. And I'm not blaming him for that, by the way, because he is unfit. He's not sharp, he's not ready to be involved every week. Of course he's not. I don't blame him for that whatsoever. But, yeah, he was lively, I suppose. He was lively, but I don't think he was as great as other people are saying. And then Beto, yeah, I'm going to give him a 4. Again, I've seen some people, Beto, shite, he's this, he's that. Again, very difficult circumstance when you come on in a game where you're losing, where the crowd's on top of you, and your manager just basically says, just go on there and do something. Very difficult. Nothing really stuck for him. He worked hard. He did make a couple of errors on the ball that you look at and you go, ooh, doesn't look comfortable there, but I'm not going to judge him based upon that performance off the bench. So there you go. They're the player ratings. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you haven't checked out the instant match reaction, please do so. We will be back with the game review tomorrow as well, so look out for that one. It should be a tasty one, but until then, big thanks for watching. Leave a like if you've enjoyed it, subscribe if you're new, and yeah, see you soon.